Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the most entertaining podcast with your host for this episode, myself, Chamberlain Bauder. Joining me today, Daps, the big January transfer for the TME crew, coming in. How are we doing today, DP?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Really happy to be on here today, and I can't wait to get started talking about the topic.
Yeah, it's a perfect topic for you as the new guy joining the show, the Manchester City guy, as today we will be discussing John Stones. Where should he go this summer? Of course, his contract with the Man City expires in June. It will be the end of 10 years of John Stones at City. Um, I just before we get into anything else, for $55 million for 10 years, like return on investment is there easily, right?
Definitely, bro. I think we definitely got a lot out of John Stones. I feel like we could have gotten more if he just stayed fit a bit more for us. But he gave us a very, very good time at Manchester City and also a treble winning season as well. He played a huge part of that in that. He played a huge part in the final. I think he was the best player on our team by far that day. I think we didn't have KDB at some point, and he actually stepped up. He was the tank. He was making things happen. He was carrying the ball out from the defense, making crucial line breaking passes. I just think he did a whole lot for us, and I'm so happy that he at least gave us that treble to walk away with, and he played a huge part for us, man. I'm really happy that he contributed as much as he did, and I'm also kind of happy that he's about to leave because he's not been playing as much anymore, and it's like we need defenders at the moment. Like we actually need him more than anything right now, and he's not available, so it might just be time for him to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's just kind of how that cookie crumbles. You hit 31 when you're in that point of his career where he was at, where he's missed a couple games here and there, and then you just kind of you get over that wall where it becomes more often than not you're kind of unavailable. Only 7 Premier League caps so far this season for him. In the last 10 months or so, he's played more games for England than he has for City almost. Like they're equivalent numbers at the end of the day in the last 10, 11 months. Yeah.
Not good enough, man. Honestly, not good enough. I know
Yeah.
Pep is frustrated for sure with the
Yeah. And
situation.
and with good reason to be at the end of the day, but you also see them kind of changing the type of center back a little bit that they have at City, just with Pep being the guy that constantly wants to be able to have the ability to change his, tactics, his formations and whatnot. A guy
Yeah,
like Guardiola coming in, it was just a lot more speed, the ability to not only play center back. And obviously, when John Stones was younger, he offered that. And when you get older, that ability to be versatile kind of starts to go away a little bit more, at
yeah,
least when it
definitely.
comes to going up the pitch. Um, before we actually get into John Stones, though, here today, of course, we have to go into the most entertaining game of the week. Last week, in week 16, it was this week will be week 16. Last week's was a 7 goal thriller between Wolfsburg and Freiburg, where it was a 4-3 win for Freiburg. But this week we head back to England and we take you back to a time that is a fever dream, a nightmare, whatever you want to call it for Manchester United fans. As if you go back and watch this game, Ruben Amorim will still be on the bench for the 4-4 draw between Bournemouth and Manchester United. It was undoubtedly the game of the week, though, in that match week, whether it was goalkeeping errors, defensive mistakes, superb finishes from a wonder kid to get that point for Bournemouth. Just all in all, a 4-4 game is going to be entertaining. If you haven't gone and watched all of the goals from that one, definitely head down to our description below and follow the link to watch that game. All right, without further ado, let's get into this. We've got 3 categories for teams where John Stones could go after his contract expires. The most realistic option, most fun option, and then a wild card. Some things to kind of think about in terms of this before we actually go into it. I'll just set the table. He's 31 years old. Obviously, that contract expires in June. There's a decent number of 30 to 34-year-old center backs across multiple leagues right now that their contract kind of expires in June. So there are other teams that he could get into one of those. I might replace this guy here or slide into a group of guys here. Obviously, as we said, limited number of caps actually for club in the last year due to injuries. So at the end of the day, you know, that has to be taken into account by whatever team's going to bring him in. And ultimately, though, you're bringing in a guy who's won a treble, who's done everything for club and country at this point, playing games wise. Um, at the end of the day, a consummate professional that you know can change a locker room or bring that culture drive to your group, having known how City's done it for the last 10 years. So, with that said, I find it crazy as a United fan to be saying all of these nice things about someone from City. But DP, take it away with we'll start out with the most realistic option here. We'll keep it clear before we kind of hop off the rails, which at least I will be hopping off the rails by the wild card. But most realistic option to you, start us off.
The most realistic option for John Stones after he leaves City for me is Everton. I just think it makes sense from a narrative point of view. Just he started playing his football journey there. It's like a come home move. I think it would be good for him because he would get guaranteed minutes if he's able to stay fit. I think they would treat him pretty well. The fans would love to have John Stones back at Everton. I think the English media would also milk that as well. I also think Everton can actually build a defense around him because of his leadership, his experience, and what he's done, not just in the Premier League but in the Champions League. Like outside of the league, I think overall his experience would be something Everton can definitely benefit from. I think they've improved this season under David Moyes. I think they've been playing better. They have Jack Grealish there as well. I think Jack Grealish might also, uh, I guess, sign a sign a contract there, and after his loan at Everton, and I think it'll be a good move for John Stones. Honestly, I think the only risk is his injury problems, and I just think Everton would need to manage him properly. They can manage him properly. Then I think the most realistic option for John Stones would be an Everton move for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That was my pick too. I think when you look at the defensive group that's still at Everton, it's like you think about it, you're like, oh, he's gone for 10 years. A homecoming is really only the facilities, right? Like,
Yeah,
nope. Nope. The defensive group at the end of the day is Seamus Coleman's still there, buddy, 37 years old and still chugging. Like there are people in that building that were there in 2016 when he was still there. It's not just you know, a
yeah.
mental like, oh, I'm going back to this routine. It is truly an opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
go home. I'm intrigued to hear though from the ticker what a news pick for the most realistic option for John Stones is here. As ultimately, I think the thing about staying in the Premier League too, he's going to want to stay in the Prem, right? Because he needs, in his mind, to still be able to get his opportunities for England caps. Um, and that's the
Definitely.
easiest way to do that is by playing Premier League soccer. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it just seems like it's really, at the end of the day, it's like, where else staying in the Prem does he go? Unless it's just one of the random bottom five teams, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was
I think it's perfect for him, honestly. I actually want him to still stay in the Premier League. I would feel comfortable seeing him playing in Everton as well. And yeah, I think it's a good move for him overall. I think that's what he's probably thinking about as well. But
Yeah,
uh,
always easy and nice when you have the opportunity to just go home to kind of go home. Now, the fun option here. I personally don't have him going home for the fun option, but I'm intrigued to hear before I go into it what you've got here, DP.
honestly, for the fun option, I think this would be box office. It will be something that would be crazy. I would consider crazy, honestly. I think he would go. A fun option for me would be for him to go to Barcelona. I think him going to Barcelona is good because of the way they play. They love ball playing center backs. I just think he might get exploited because he doesn't have the same amount of pace he did when he was younger. But I do think he would fit into Barcelona's system pretty well. But now they play a high line, and it's like he's gonna be playing catch up a lot of times. And I just think he really is a smart defender, so he might not even be playing catch up if I'm being honest, because Barcelona catch a lot of teams offside all the time. So I think if he goes to Barcelona, he'd instantly become one of the most technical defenders in the league. And I just think I can imagine John Stones playing for Barcelona. I can imagine a lot of City players playing for Barcelona actually, because we have a pretty similar style of play, and John Stones in Barcelona would be really, really fun to watch. But that's considering he can stay fit as well. I don't think Barcelona would. It's actually a signing Barcelona would go for because they need defenders, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to maintain or keep him fit, or he can promise to them that he's gonna be fit. But I don't even know how you want to make that kind of promise, honestly. But I just think Barcelona would be a fun option for John Stones for sure.
I think the thing with Barcelona, at least in my head when I look at it, is kind of a they would want him to be under contract for another year so they could loan to buy a guy like John Stones. Even if it was like 2 weeks ago, hey, we'll take him on for the end of his contract so we can see whether or not we'd want to keep him for the rest for another year after that kind of a thing. My
Yeah.
team away from home is a little bit smaller. I personally went to Italy when my brain kind of went to what do older Premier League center backs that are not able to necessarily get it done in the Premier League anymore usually do? They go to Italy. But then when I kind of looked at Italy, there were a couple of options. Not my pick, but Napoli seemed like one that would just make sense when you look at the amount of Scottish players that are already there. You've got kind of a prem type of organization to the roster there. But my pick personally, I think that when you look at a young side in Italy that is currently overperforming, the one thing that you can add to that squad that would be fantastic for it is a veteran champion center back. And I think Como would be an awesome place for John Stones to go.
That's a good pick, honestly. That's actually a good pick, to be honest. But I don't
Yeah.
know if Fabregas is still gonna be there at the end of this season. But I do think that it'll be a good option for John Stones for sure, because they're definitely overperforming for the type of players that they have in that squad for sure. I think a huge part of that is just due to I think Fabregas's good tactics and his mentality, and I just think John Stones that would be a good move for him for sure.
Yeah. No, I think Borussia Dortmund. So Germany with the pick, Schlotterbeck's replacement there. I like that too because you think about it as like him being a player coach almost with a group of really young guys in that kind of
Yeah.
system that are
Like
always trying
uh
to funnel
like a
up.
Matt Hummels vibe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I really
But
do like
the big question is just, is he gonna be fit? I think he'd be a
yeah.
good option for any one of these teams, but is he going to be fit?
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is with both Como and Dortmund a little bit, not completely, because at the end of the day, you want that guy on the pitch showing people how to play the game, not just talking about it. But
Yeah.
he can add to those locker rooms, even if he's not actually playing and he's stuck in the physio room. He can still be adding to the culture of that room.
Yeah, definitely. Hmm.
All right, so that's fun. We got four teams on the board now. Let's keep it rolling to the wild card. And I'm gonna get mine out of the way first, actually, on the wild
Okay.
card because the reason mine I consider it a wild card is because this takes the one thing that has been the key to John Stone's career over the last like 3 years, which is being good enough and healthy enough to play for England and playing competitive enough games to play for England, takes that one thing and throws it right out the window. Because you know what team would 100% make a move for a guy like John Stones because they've done it before with a guy that was about 5 years older from a worse Premier League team? Is Wrexham.
Yeah.
Not the
Fair enough.
first time Wrexham has been my wild card take on something on the show, but I think honestly, you think about just where he is in his career. You talk about being an immediate
Hmm.
start as long as he's healthy, and at the end of the day, putting in games and having that fun story to be able to kind of hop onto with other guys like Connor Cody's done it, Ben Foster's done it, right? I mean, they were much older in their careers than where John Stones is right now. He's
Real.
probably still got about 4 years before he should be thinking about Wrexham. However, with the that's a very valid point. I don't know. Reynolds got deep pockets. Movie star pockets are deep. Don't forget. Um, but I think the hard thing for that with him is his injury history doesn't allow me to contemplate his career as a 38-year-old playing in England.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, in my mind, his whole career is kind of dwarfed compared to guys like a Ben Foster. I mean, any goalie really, right? When you can play that much longer and you can still put in a couple of games like that. But um, yeah, that's my wild card pick. It can get thrown to the Wolves, or in 3 years he'll be on Wrexham, and it'll be a really funny clip.
Okay, I think that's a good wild card option. I think for me, my wild card option would be Inter Miami. I think him going over there would actually be very, very. It would be funny, honestly. I would like to see that because he'd be leaving the UK, coming out of his comfort zone, his typical comfort zone. He would be coming over to the United States, be playing with Messi. I think he would be helping Miami like boost their franchise even more. I think he becomes a leader in that side as well, and he also, you know he brings that elite sort of build up as a defender into the MLS. I think the MLS doesn't really have any defender they can really like call out or highlight that I can think of honestly. But I just think a crazy wild card option would be for him to go to Inter Miami. I think it's mad, but I don't think it's impossible. I think it's something that he should or probably would be looking at, to be honest. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I love. Yeah, that's it's on the same. We're on the same exact wavelength here. I feel like those two teams are completely different uh builds, but exactly the same vibe, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
you got one team that's owned by a Premier League legend in a league that it will never be able to elevate from.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got a team in England that is owned by two American superstars, and they
Yeah.
just happen to be having the potential to bring them all the way to the top of English football. Um, but they feel like exactly the same kind of vibe of being an older player and looking where to go. Your two options, kind of when you know that you're out of the top 4 or 5 leagues.
Yeah,
That
real.
yeah.
I think if John Stones watched Brentford, that's actually not
Brentford
bad.
feels right.
I was
Okay.
also thinking Aston Villa as well too. I just feel like they make those type of signings as well. But I think Brentford would be good also, honestly.
I mean, I honestly can say that when I look at the bottom 5 of the Premier League right now, the only
Mhm.
one I wouldn't see him going to is Leeds. Like,
Bro, I thought about Leeds as well this morning, bro.
yeah,
Funny enough, bro. I actually
but
did.
yeah, I mean, he's got plenty of options. I think the key thing is what the next 4 months look like for him, how many games he actually gets. Can he outnumber himself in club caps over country caps in the year of 2025 to 26? I think this season that's the question, because it's gotten to a point now where you kind of look at it, and if you're a team that's looking to bring in a guy that's only got single digit games played in a season, even and given he's over 30, but when you're 31 years old in this type of leagues that we play in right now, 31 is not, you're at the 75% mark of your career. Like, you still have a full quarter of it to go in most categories,
Yeah.
and he hasn't been playing like that. So he's got to show in this next couple of months that he's worth a Premier League spot, or he will be kind of going to one of those other teams that we were looking at talking about.
Yeah, I really just I don't know, but I'm very interested in seeing who actually goes for John Stones because it'll be something that you'd have to, I guess, count your bucks for. Do you actually think you're gonna get something back from this investment? but I think you can get something back, but it's like your physios have to be super, super good at managing John Stones for sure. Because I think our physios are pretty decent, but I just don't think we've been able to get as much of John Stones as we needed in the past year or two, honestly. So I'm very interested in seeing if who actually goes for him.
Yeah, and the other thing too, last thing before we close it out here, that'll be interesting is because it's a free. It'll be interesting just to see his mindset in terms of how much he expects someone to pay him because they didn't have to pay for the rights to sign him, which obviously we always know with depending on the player and depending on the ego, it's different for every single player. But
Mm-hmm.
that will be an interesting thing to kind of see and factor in. But anyways, thank you for joining us, everyone. Like the video if you enjoyed, and let us know your opinions, of course, in the comments below. Subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of our next episode where we'll be discussing the 5 best left backs in the Premier League. Have a great week, everyone.